Blog Talk Radio.
Hi, and welcome to MindShifters Radio with the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael Ryce. And to start off with, our chat room, you can pop in there and ask questions. Also, the call-in number is 646-200-4169, and then press number 1, and that'll let us know that you want to talk to the host, and just give us a call. And so right now we have Dr. Michael Ryce.
Delighted to be here, and if you want to go into the chat room, you can just go to our website, www.whyagain.com, and right at the top, Jeanie's got some convenient links to tell you how to do it. So we'd be delighted to hear from you, delighted to entertain questions, thoughts, answers, ideas, and we're glad to be here. We are appreciative of Carol from Angel Radio Network, Carol Guy, who has facilitated us getting the show underway and happening. We're delighted to be here. And it looks like we've got a question right off the bat. That's awesome. Please, come on in.
It's 208.
Area code 208. Give us a name and where you're from.
Hi. Hi. Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay. This is Connie. I'm from Las Vegas.
Oh, delighted. Good to hear from you, Connie. We've been texting this morning, and glad you're here. And we're going to be seeing you later today and having a week with you next week as we do a workshop series in Las Vegas at Unity, which I understand is right down near your house where we're going to be staying.
It is. I'm very excited. I really don't have... I'm sorry.
We're excited, and we appreciate the fact that you opened the door for us to go and do this week of workshops at Unity. That's awesome.
Well, pretty much everyone that I come in contact with that says, "Gee, your life looks pretty good. What have you been doing?" I refer them to your work because it's helped me so much. I figure, I want everyone to be able to experience, the kind of relief in life that I finally have experienced by doing the work.
Awesome. Well, I know your life was totally in order when you first contacted us, right? That was all on track for you?
Yeah, right. Actually, as there are no coincidences in life, I don't think. At the time that I contacted your work, I was like, at such a low point, I honestly, drawing the next breath was like all I could accomplish. I was in so much pain. It was like, oh, just one more breath. That's all I can do, one more breath. And
wow.
Through a friend, through circumstances which were, ordained, I'm sure, I happened upon your work. And the situation that I was in, after watching some of your DVDs, like, yes, this has happened to me many times, hasn't it? Maybe I'm involved here. And so I started doing, I ordered all your DVDs, and I have listened to them thousands of times, honestly. Some people would think, well, why do you need to keep listening to them? Because, you could recite every word on these DVDs. You know what he's going to say. But something inside me said, no, you got to keep listening. And, then I would hear new things. I'm like, I've heard that DVD 50 times, but, I must have blanked out and never heard that particular, what you said. I'm like, oh, yeah, I get that now. So,
well, of course, we have the technology built into the DVDs that they change every time you listen to them. So
apparently, and so really, I'm not calling with a question. I'm calling to say your work is actually my work, based on your teachings. My work in doing it has changed my life to the point I can actually implement it in the moment. When something comes up, I can say, wow, look what I've drawn to myself here. Isn't this interesting? And instead of reacting to it, say, oh, well, what am I supposed to learn here? What am I supposed to get out of this? this is really just me telling me about me, and, just be sort of third-party disassociated with it other than what it's trying to tell me and what I need to get and what I need to forgive. And, so eventually you do get to a point where you live it instead of intellectualize it. And
right.
A good thing. So I'm just calling to say thanks. Your work is fabulous, and I really encourage everybody to do the work.
Yeah, it is really the doing of it. It certainly isn't the knowing about it. And one of the thoughts I'll put out, for folks that are listening, when you just shared what you were going through when you first contacted this work. Of course, you were here in Las Vegas, and we were up in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, and Connie got on an airplane and came to Coeur d'Alene and did a week of workshops, did the MindShifters and Still Point Breathing workshop that weekend, if I remember correctly, and went back to Las Vegas, a transformed life. Is that an accurate recollection of your first week up in Coeur d'Alene when we were there?
That is, and I will add to it, the person that brought your work to my attention, who is now my absolute best friend, she was going through a dying process when she came upon your work, because many people in her life had passed away unexpectedly, and people went crazy and started doing weird things, and she was a hardcore Christian, and she's like, well, I'm doing what I think I'm supposed to do here, and it's not working. So she was just basically like, I'm checking out here because it's not working, and I'm not going to live through this pain. And she happened upon the word. I'm sorry, did you say something?
Yeah, if I recall correctly, her physician had done blood work, and her health was simply deteriorating to the point where there was nothing they could do. They didn't know what was, quote-unquote, wrong. They didn't know what was going on, and she was getting ready to die. And I understand that her physician actually gave her a set of our DVDs, if I remember correctly, and all she did was lay on the couch in her dying process and watched the DVDs and watched them and watched them and watched them and watched them. Yeah. And if I recall correctly, all of a sudden she did new blood work. What was the result of the new blood work? Do you recall?
Well, I think there was a period of 6 weeks where she laid on the couch and watched the DVDs. She said a lot of times she'd just go to sleep because it was like too overwhelming, but she'd just keep them on and they'd be playing. And her insurance, because her and her husband changed insurance or something like that, required her to do blood work again, and it was about 6 weeks later. The only thing she had done different in her life in that 6 weeks was watch the DVDs, and she did the new blood work, and it showed like dramatic improvement in every category. Like, wow, you're now in a healing process, and it was just a total shift. And then she just continued to do the work, and of course, this is now several years later, and she's alive and well. So because it helped her so much, this had happened several months before I met her, and then she met me, and I was in dire need, and then she said, well, hey, I've got some DVDs for you. And then, of course, I did the DVDs, and now, we're both in a state of very good health and mostly mental health. So, yeah, the DVDs will transform your life. Well, the work, the doing of the work, and really desiring to be healed will transform you.
Well, that's awesome, Connie. I appreciate your sharing your story and the story of your friend up in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, and we're blessed to be being hosted by you next week as we speak at Unity in the Valley. It's actually right down near the airport, and if anybody is going through something in your life that you're ready for some tools, we're going to be doing a free week of workshops starting Sunday at Unity in the Valley here in Las Vegas, actually right on the Henderson-Las Vegas line, and We'll be doing Sunday morning, we'll be doing the service at 10 o'clock, and I strongly urge anybody that's listening that can do it to come and hear that message, the different message than the workshops present. And then Monday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night, Friday night, we'll have a series. And then actually that weekend, this Saturday and Sunday, we're doing a 2-day residential intensive, which will include codependence. It'll include on creating consciously. It'll look at how the creative process operates and works. We'll be doing codependence to interdependence, MindShifters, and still point breathing. And so that'll be a 2-day residential mini intensive that we'll be doing at Tacoma Hot Springs in about an hour and a half outside of Las Vegas, an awesome place with these hot springs that come up out of the earth. They're a really cool spot, and so we'll be doing our intensive out there. For anybody who's listening, if you're ready for a transformation, hey, get online, get on Priceline, and get an airplane and come on to Las Vegas, and we'll be delighted to share the tools with you. And if that doesn't work, then we're absolutely honored and blessed and delighted to be able to be on this radio show every day from 2 to 3 o'clock. The call-in number, if you choose to call in and give us a question or a thought, is 646-200-4169. So call in at that number or go to www.whyagain.com, and you can download the worksheets, you can watch videos. You can spend thousands of hours on the website, and Jeanie, my accolades to you for your genius in putting it together. And Jeanie's now started a section on the website in Spanish for the Spanish community. We're doing more and more work here in Las Vegas with the Spanish community. Tonight we'll be at a medical center called Guadalupe Medical Center, working with medical assistants and patients of that center, where Dr. Stephen Andraki is prescribing forgiveness worksheets to people. And it's been awesome to be here in the Las Vegas area. We've actually been out in Pahrump all week, and we had as we were at their medical office out there, we had a procession of people coming through. And Dr. Andraki's supporting people in dealing with their lives rather than just finding medicine. And it's pretty cool to have the whole approach available and to be part of what's happening here. It's very exciting. And Connie, if you have the chance tonight and you'd like to come back up to Guadalupe, we're going to be doing the presentation with Spanish translation, and maybe you could be of some assistance in that Spanish translation as you were last time that we were out there to be at the same place. So I am just so delighted to hear the shifts and changes in your life, Connie, and it's awesome to be able to support you. And ultimately, all we're interested in doing is being on the support team of every mind, heart, and being on planet Earth. And this radio show is one of our ways of doing that. So thank you for your input.
Well, you're welcome. Thank you for giving me the tools so that I could do the work. And now, it's like when you have a truth and it resonates with you, then I share it with everyone that I know, and I start seeing other people changing their lives. I'm like, wow, So we are all connected, and the work really does change people.
It's pretty awesome to facilitate that kind of change in someone, isn't it? And, to me, one of the key things to understand in the work is that the true nature of the human being is the active presence of love. That's what we are. And, of course, the way we document and prove that is Jeanie always opens the workshop with a question: how many have ever held a newborn child? Everywhere on the planet, doesn't matter what culture it is, everybody describes the newborns in the same way, the active presence of love. That's our true nature. And because each of us has that same true nature, we have the power to live in being. And each of you that's listening right now, whether you know it or not, whether you've lived there yet or not, you have the power to transform lives simply by your presence. And if you take the time to embody the true being, the human life that you have, you are a transformer of other lives. And that, to me, is just such an awesome possibility and an awesome gift to be given. And we have this ability, and there is a well-trodden path. It's not often trodden in our world today, But there is a well-worn path to the recovery of our human lives and to removing what does not belong. And if you're listening to the show right now and you're some kind of drama and trauma in your life, right down to, as what Connie just shared, her friend who was literally, her physician said, you're dying and we don't know why, and there's nothing we can do about it. That if you restore yourself to a human life, you have such awesome possibility and such awesome power. And there are tools, known tools, that's what we teach, for removing those things that produce drama, trauma, turmoil, separation, hatred, fear, grief, vengeance, pain. There are ways to remove those things. And when you start to remove them, you become a transformer. So thank you, Connie. And are you down at the house? We'll call you when we're finished the show and make arrangements to get together?
Sure. Yep. I'm home.
Awesome. Is there one particular thing, Connie, just before you go, that you found was a major turning point for you? Any particular thought or tool? What tool that we teach? Because you've been through all of the workshops now, pretty much, or most of them.
Well, ultimately, it's all, two things. The forgiveness. I mean, all of the tools are helpful because, some of the tools will show you, oh, this is my stuff, and, to look at it and so forth. The forgiveness is really kind of the core thing. And to forgive, so it's the forgiveness worksheet. But then really, you get to a point where you're just able to live your life in a state of love. And in doing that, you kind of already incorporating all those other tools. You get to a point where you know the tools, but you're just in a state of love, and that's all we're supposed to be. There's really nothing else. I mean, the tools just get you to the state of where you're able to stay in the state of love all the time, and so it's just a joyful life. In fact, my brother came to visit me a week ago, and he's like, "Wow, you're just like everything. You're so happy, and like nothing bothers you. It doesn't matter anything that's going on. It doesn't seem to bother you." And because he spent a week with me, him being able to see, the quality of my life, then he, without having to push anything upon him or say, well, you should do this or that, he's like, well, whatever you're doing, I want to start doing that because I see that you just really have a peaceful life. And so I gave him some of my DVDs and said, well, this is how you do it. So really, the Bible says we're to be a witness. In my mind, that doesn't mean go out and start witnessing to people and tell them what to do. It's like when they witness what you are doing with your life, then they will say, well, whatever you're doing, it seems to work, so maybe I should try to do that too. And so it was really wonderful to be able to have a week with my brother and for him to ask me what I'm doing instead of me saying you should do this.
That's awesome. What a fabulous gift to give your brother. And we talk in the workshops about the 4 responses that people come up with when they see you changing and doing your work. And one of them is exactly what your brother's was, like, wow, this looks good on you, I want some. The second response is, this looks good on you and I can support you, but I'm really not interested. The third one is, I'm really peeved that I can't control you and get you to play into my games anymore, and, it feels like you've left me, therefore I'm going to crank up the heat and try to force you back into the old patterns. And the fourth response that people have is, I'm out of here. There's no resonance left. I don't want to live in that world that you're in. And I think the reason why people have those last 2 responses is that they are so locked into their trauma, and they've tried to move out of it, but because they didn't have the tools, they couldn't do it. So there's a part of their minds that believes, well, it's just not really possible for me. And the truth is, there's nobody hopeless, there's nobody helpless. We all have the same human life. Human life has never left us. The actual active presence of love has never left us. However, we've covered it up with something else. And when you start using the tools, you uncover it, and it's the return to being. It's a return to a human life. So thank you. Actually, we're working with a new subtitle for the rewrite of Why Is This Happening to Me Again? And the new title of the book is going to be Why Is This Happening to Me Again? Or the second edition, Why Is This Happening to Me Again? Uprooted from Love. Because that's what the culture does. It uproots us. It pulls us out of that awareness. And when we return to that awareness, it transforms everything. So, Connie, I'm just delighted to be sharing the planet with you and to have you on our team and to be on your team and to have you holding the space, because all it's going to take is a critical mass of people who will hold the space, and the whole of humanity is going to make a shift, and that's what we're holding the space for and doing the work. That's why we go around the globe. That's why we're doing this radio show, and delighted to have you being part of it. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
All righty. We'll talk to you a little bit later. And Jeanie tells me that we've got another call coming in. Area code 615 sounds like Nashville, Tennessee, and I heard that Dr. Bill was going to be on the phone today on the show. So let's see if this is Bill Greenfield.
Well, yes, it is. I was enjoying listening to Connie's comments because they were echoing the stuff that is going off within me.
Awesome.
I was reading your book. I was reading that portion in why is this happening to me again, where wake up, there is another world out there, another whole level of aliveness that your computer can't think. It only spits out what has been put into you. Let go of it as your decision-making device.
Right.
And I took that and transposed the writings from the book of John, where Jesus is talking about sending us a comforter who will explain the true meaning of what he's been trying to tell us, and that it will indeed expand on those teachings. And I'm thinking that most people are not listening to their intuition. Most people are not listening to the guidance of the Spirit, and we're determined to think our way out through this life. And it is painful.
That's for sure. And, you know, the culture, right from the beginning, the culture tends to brainwash people into living their lives looking through the outward eye, looking for something out there. You know, that song, I've used the title, I use it very regularly, looking for love in all the wrong places, looking for comfort in all the wrong places, looking for life in all the wrong places. And so when we're focused on the outward eye, and of course that doesn't mean that things out there aren't important. You know, we've all got to have our things, and we have to have a place to live, and we need food in our bellies. But, you know, if you go back to Yeshua 2,000 years ago, he said, don't make those your concern. Your concern is be a human being first. And it's not, you know, that's been interpreted in religious ways, but it isn't religious. It's just a human life. You got to claim that first, and certainly exciting to do and to be part of.
Well, I just want to thank you again for being that modality by which the Spirit is expressing itself in this day and age, and I'm still reading your book. I'm finding new parts that I think that you're rewriting it at night because they're parts I never saw before. They're still speaking to me.
Well, you know, what the understanding more and more of those ancient teachings, when you hear Yeshua say, you have to have the eyes to see and the ears to hear. And Connie spoke about, you know, here she is, she's watched these DVDs, and what she shared with me before, she has an exercise machine in her house, and every morning she's on that machine for I don't know how long, but a significant amount of time, and she's playing the DVDs and listening. And what happens, when I jokingly say that we've got the technology that they change every time, is each time we go through, whether it's the book or the DVD, we build brain cells for something different, and then the body's mind can produce realities out of those brain cells. We can't produce realities out of brain cells we don't have. So Yeshua says in order to understand his teaching, you've got to have the eyes to see and the ears to hear. And what I've been doing for the last 40 years overall, and in particular 25 years or so, almost 30 years, I guess now, from the Aramaic, is going back and understanding how to speak what Yeshua was speaking in Aramaic, only to do it in English at this point, and we're starting to do more of it in Spanish. And, he says, even in the Aramaic, he says to the people around him, there's so many things I want to say to you, but you can't hear them yet. You got to have the eyes to see and the ears to hear. And I think we can fairly safely assume that he wasn't talking about physical eyes and physical ears. Probably most everybody in the crowd had what we call those physical eyes and ears. But he was saying you have to have the content in your mind. And so each time one reads through the book, they build another series of brain cells, and next time you go through the same page, there's another whole reality that your brain, your body's mind can produce. And you go, oh, wow, yeah, I see that. Until, of course, you awaken to the true mind, which is the mind as the ancient teaching spoke of it. And again, it's not religious. Paul said to be of like mind with Christ. What mind did Christ think with? He thought with the mind of God, with the mind of love. God is love, not the theological monstrosities that the Greeks made up, but literally to be able to come to life with the mind of love. That's what Connie was describing. That's what I hear you describing. And we grow into that as we build those brain cells, as we remove what never belonged. And so I'll ask you the same question that I asked Connie. What was the most important piece of the puzzle for you in tapping into this work and beginning to move forward into new spaces?
Well, the work as a whole nudged me, a firm, hearty nudge from looking my past or looking at the outside, that it encouraged me to think that the resources for the resolution of my pain lay within me. And so
right.
And if I would do the work, if I would do the worksheet, if I would go through the discovery process, I would make progress toward peace and serenity. And it encouraged me to pick up the shovel again and re-enter the mind and do some more work.
Right. Awesome. Yeah, the importance, it can't be overemphasized that each one of us, in order to experience the result, has to go spend our time in the desert. And, of course, the desert is a code word for the unconscious, for the dissociated mind. We have to go in and clean that up. And many people want the intellectual stimulation of, oh, well, tell me all about it, tell me how it works, and then tell me what to do, as opposed to, well, here are some tools. If you want potatoes, you got to use the hoe. Start to do it and start to go into your own internal dynamics, move through them, and you'll find that everything, absolutely everything, including your chemistry, as Connie was saying with her friend, she had blood work done, and her doctor said, you're going out, you're leaving, and there's nothing we can do. And because they changed insurance companies 6 weeks later, they insisted on new blood work. So she's got her pre and post laying on the couch watching DVDs all day, every day. And in 6 weeks went from a blood profile that the physician said you're dying to a blood profile of virtual blood chemistry perfection. And, you got to go in and you got to do that work. And so we're here to invite everybody. And, of course, we'd love it if you wanted to get a copy of that book that we're speaking about. You can go to our website and order it under order products. But you can also go to the website and download it in English, German, Russian, Spanish, Farsi. And we've got a couple of other languages underway. It's free. It's online. The only one that's not free, if you want a copy of it, you have to order it, and it's available in hardback, and it's $30, unfortunately, is Swedish. The Swedish publisher, when they put the book out, said, no, we're not going to allow you to put it on the website free. We paid for this translation into Swedish, and we're going to hold it and sell books. So that's what they did. But it is available in Swedish as well. And the how-to is there. It's the key. And you can go to the website and download it free in those languages. We'd be delighted for you to do that. And if you're in a position to support the work, if you download it free, send us a donation. You can go to the website and there's a donation button. The work is, we all have bills to pay, but the work isn't about the money. The work is about getting it in people's hands. That's why when Jeanie and I travel 6 to 10 months of the year, our workshops are free. We pay our own expenses. We're committed to getting us into people's hands. That's what we are here for. And if you want to support us in that process, of course, as I say, we all have bills to pay. Terry's back at HeartLand right now, and he's in the process of putting on a new 2,300 square foot roof. Of course, those things take cash flow and money, and so we invite people to support the work. But go to the website, enjoy yourself, change your life. We're delighted to be sharing the tools with you. Anything else that you'd like to share with us before we move to the next caller?
I think I'm complete for the day. I thank you for the privilege of sharing.
Well, we're delighted to be sharing the planet with you, and certainly appreciate you, as with Connie, that you're passing it on to others, that you have a study group you're working with, and you're working on the phone every day with people and introducing them to the concepts. It's been awesome here in Pahrump, Nevada. We've spent several days in the last 10 days or so at the medical offices of Dr. Stephen Andraki, an absolutely awesome physician. One of his former partners I was sharing with earlier this week, and he shared with me how awesome and how powerful a physician he is, and he's taking it all to the next level of moving into supporting people, learning how to deal with their lives. And it's so we've been, I don't know, Jeanie, how many people have we processed with in the last 2 weeks, probably, or 10 days, maybe 15 or 20 people individually in his offices, and just hearing the stories of the shift and the change and what's happening. So delighted to be sharing it with you, delighted to be sharing the planet with you. And Bill, we hold the space of taking things to the next level in Nashville, Tennessee.
Thank you, Dr. We have two more callers that have questions. The first one is Lady Jane.
Okay, I think we've got 765, which probably means we have St. Jane on the line. Are you with us, Jane?
I'm with you.
Awesome.
Thank you, dear. I was thinking about, I've not met Connie, but what a privilege it is to be a host to you all, because I've done that several times, and I was thinking, boy, I wish I could have them be here again. Maybe that'll happen before too long. You never know.
We'll work on it.
Also, I want to say with Connie, since I just sent your tithe out yesterday to her address, it gives me a time to say hi to her, and when she sees my name, Jane, she'll know that it's to, it'll go to you. So that's
right.
Cool. But the next thing I was thinking is she talked so much about the DVDs, but nobody mentioned how to get them. I mean, you were talking about the worksheets, but nobody said that you could go on the web and get those DVDs. They're updated today, are they not?
Yes, you can, of course, go to our website, www.whyagain.com. And, Jane, I appreciate how you are always there to support us in taking care of the practical aspect of
I am.
Sometimes I have a tendency to forget, but you can go to the website. On the right-hand side, there's a link that says, I think it's Order Products. You can click on there, and you can order the DVDs. And or, if you're ready to do some intensive work, we'll be doing a 65-day intensive this summer, starting the 8th of July. And it expired the 1st of April. However, we would certainly extend it to anybody who's listening to the radio show. If you register for an intensive, and the offer expired April 1st, then you get 10 free DVDs. And the DVDs are each 2-hour plus presentations of live workshops and the tools, each one being a different approach. It's kind of fun how often I'll hear somebody who'll go through a week of workshops with us. We'll do 2.5 hours each night, and they'll at the end of the week go, well, I've been trying to think of which ones I want to buy, and then they'll say, have you got one that has everything in it? It's like, well, I actually haven't figured out how to get 1,000 hours of work into a 2-hour DVD yet, but each one has a different set of tools, and there are 10 free, which is, on a retail level is $400 worth of DVDs if you choose to come and do an intensive. And our shortest intensive this summer is a 9-day. We'll be doing a 9-day Codependence, a 9-day Why Is This Happening to Me Again, a 9-day teacher training. We'll do a 16-day Laws of Living. We'll do a 9-day Intuitive Development and a 10-day Course in Miracles. So there'll be the different intensives we'll do this summer. And so people can look on the website under schedule and see what the HeartLand schedule is. And if you want to do an intensive, go ahead and register. and we'll get some DVDs out to you. So anyway, what Jane, I'm going to ask the same question as I've asked, is what's been the most important key for you in your process with working with the tools? Do you have a piece
I get excited about, yeah, I do. I get excited about the more I listen, either say to the radio show or to the DVDs, the more I realize that I don't know. That's repetitive. Establishing the brain cells has been big for me because I recognize that, I'll put something on that I really don't hear it. And then all of a sudden one day I've heard it, and I said, well, I'm always saying to you, that's big, Michael. So I'll be by myself and say, well, that's big, Michael. Even though I've heard, had played it many, many times, I didn't hear it. So the idea of my brain cells growing and being established, it really is thrilling to me. Now, I may end up living in a world all by myself, but one of the things that keeps me going is that all these people that are calling in that I'm connected with keeps me connected because we have similar brain cells. When you first start talking about this, a lot of people don't understand at all. But if they hang in there and keep listening, one fine morning, Connie gave a great testimony. And just by this woman simply listening to the DVDs, I would think people would want to go out there and buy them immediately. Anyway, establishing the brain cells and growing that way has made a big impression on me, plus many others. But that's what I'll say today.
Cool. And of course, the idea, for those who may not be familiar with what Jane's speaking of building the brain cells, when we talk about building brain cells or establishing brain cells, we're not talking about new physical structure. Every cell in your structure functions to store information. So every cell functions in that sense as a brain cell. And so it's building the brain cells for truth and who we are rather than the culture that comes in and helps us build the brain cells for hostility, fear, grief, pain, trauma. And recognizing that the quality of that data stored in the cell affects the physiology of the cell. Literally, when we build in drama and trauma, pain and hatred and fear and grief and vengeance. I was walking through the medical clinic yesterday, and this was someone that I didn't end up getting to speak with, but there was a young lady who was on the phone, looked like a kind of a prim and proper young lady, and I walked by just as she's talking to somebody on her cell phone, and she says to the person on the cell phone, I have no idea who she was talking to, and the line I hear as I'm walking past her is, well, you're just different than I am, so go suck on it. And it was like, do you realize what you just put into your structure, lady? You think you did something that sounded pretty vicious to someone else, but do you realize what frequency you just engaged in, what brain cells you were building in your structure? I understand why you're sitting in that seat in the medical office. And, we don't think in terms, because our culture hasn't taught us, that what we engage in is what becomes our biology, becomes our physiology, and the engaging in hatred and fear and vengeance and grief and pain. And if we come from a culture and a family system that's the norm, then, having to hang out in the medical office becomes a normal part of the process. Whereas when we start to remove those things, we start to forgive. And forgiveness, as we're speaking about it, has nothing to do with letting other people off the hook for what's going on in us. Forgiveness has to do with going inside ourselves and removing those brain cells, the content of those brain cells that are in physiology that never belonged in us. And that means that ultimately you get to the point where your physiology, no matter what happens, and I think Connie said it very well, no matter what happens, as you remove those things from your physiology, the world around you can be doing whatever it's doing, and you aren't in trauma over it. You stay connected to being. And if you go back 2,000 years ago, you hear the man named Yeshua describing his process of doing that. And he says, I'm in this world, but I'm not of this world. And, that training to the outward eye, as I was saying with Bill, that focus on the outward eye is really a way to keep us locked into the games of the world. And the world doesn't particularly appreciate it when we withdraw from their games, because they think that the games of insanity, of lovelessness, are actually life, and they're not. They're death. And so to engage in that which brings us into not a near-death experience, but a near-life experience is really what we're here to support everybody in doing. So any other thoughts for us, Lady Jane?
No, that'll be it.
Okay, do you know which intensive you're coming to this summer?
No, I don't. I haven't talked to Jeanie about it, but she's planning on driving. But we'll be there.
Cool. Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Fabulous. Well, we'll look forward to seeing your sweet face, and we appreciate you and appreciate the way you're touching others' lives with the tools. And if anybody's in the Anderson, Indiana area, you can look up Lady Jane at True Light Christian Church. She's a minister there and brings this work to people just every day.
Well, thank you, Michael.
All right. We appreciate and cherish you in our lives.
Thank you.
Okay. Blessings.
Blessings.
Okay. Well, first, before we go to the next caller, which is Nene in Florida, and then I believe we also have Julie Haberstick on the line as well. So we've got two people in hold online. But I wanted to also read out of the chat room, and I apologize if I don't pronounce this right, Aloha Leka. She says that she thinks that the Reality Management Sheet is the best for her, that she really likes how it stops the corrupt data from continuing immediately, and that she just thinks it's very powerful, removing one corrupted file at a time. And then Dr. Tim mentioned that he likes the MindShifter exercise. He thinks it's very powerful too. And I typed out there that, sometimes we need a screwdriver and sometimes we need a hammer. Yep. So different tools at different times. So anyway, Nene, you're on the line. I believe that's who we've got here. And then
yes.
Julie, you'll be next.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Nene, and we appreciate we appreciate the assistance that we're getting from you on the Spanish translation. As we were, Jeanie was texting you this morning. We were in the Dr. Andraki and his wife, and we're getting ready to do a Spanish workshop tonight, so we appreciate your assistance with that and the translation work that you've done. And Jeanie is setting up a separate section on the website for all the Spanish work, and so it's exciting.
Great.
And I got the message.
Yeah,
I got the message that you got the ideal job you're looking for.
Yeah. I also have Skype, so if in any moment you need me, in a conference call or something, you could also always use Skype for a teleconference.
I'm not quite hearing you. Say that again.
Oh. But I also have Skype.
Right.
And if you ever need me for a teleconference, to translate or to supervise translation or something, Skype, we can talk and see each other also.
Fabulous. Thank you for that offer.
Yes.
So what's on your mind today? What's happening in your world, Nene?
Okay, well, magnificent, very positive and joyful experiences. And I've been watching the DVD on the Codependency to Interdependence.
Right.
And I love it because I can stop, I rewind, and I hear the phrase again and again, because then I find that there's so much information and so wonderful message. And there's one in the Codependency when talking about the power person, when that we spend our life usually with the partner trying to satisfy our individual power person's needs.
Yes.
And that's why then we complain that we try to do everything to please you or to show you my love, quote unquote, but it's actually you are trying to please what you learned to please your power person.
Exactly.
And that happens on the other side, too. So if you don't have the same power person. So I understood even more, about relationship because it's so true.
Yeah, and for those that don't have the brain cells for what Nene is speaking about, one of the workshops we do is Codependence to Interdependence. That'll actually be the intensive we'll do next weekend. And we introduced the concept of a power person who was someone who had more power over your life than you did at some stage. Usually it's those early years. And what happens is that for most people, the dynamics of their whole lives are established through the interaction of their genetics with their power person dynamics, and it tends to set the direction and control the behavior throughout all of life. And the particular dynamic, if I understood correctly, that you're speaking about, Nene, that you're finding important at this stage is that you've found yourself being driven by the goals that you held, unresolved goals with your power person, and that's what you're cleaning up and forgiving now. Is that how I understood it?
Yes, exactly.
Cool. Well, that is a key, and that actually the Codependence to Interdependence workshop. It's one of the later ones that I developed, and I think it is perhaps next to the why is this happening to me again is one of the most important to understand in relationships the dynamics that are laid out in the Codependence workshop. And I actually I did that workshop the first time about 10 years ago, and it still boggles my mind, and I'm still learning when I teach it more nuances and more little subtleties about relationships, and each little piece opens a whole different space. And the things we go through of the solutions of the non-being mind, and one of them being driven by satisfying the unresolved childhood goals toward a power person. Some of the other things that we point out are the pseudo solutions of the non-being mind are, if I could just figure this out, then everything would be okay, and you can't figure it out, and everything isn't going to be okay if you do. Another one of them is, if I could just control everybody and everything, then nobody get close to my pain. I'd never have to have pain again, and that one doesn't produce any result except more and more drama and trauma. And so reversing some of those dynamics are the key that come out of that particular workshop. And we talked a little bit yesterday about the Codependence Worksheet that Dr. Tim likes to use. I know that if you're into the tapping work, the EFT work, I believe that the letter probably still up where Dr. Tim found that when the tapping method, the EFT, wasn't working, that he would to introduce the Codependence Worksheet to people, and that would always create the breakthrough. That would always make the shift happen for people. And so, of course, that worksheet is on the website along with the rest of the worksheets, www.whyagain.com. So you're welcome to jump on the website and download that worksheet, and it's fun and powerful to watch how each tool complements. And Nene, I really acknowledge you for, I don't know, I think we did about 35 or 36 workshops while we were in South Florida this last trip around, and I think you were at least 98% of them, and doing your work the whole time, which is awesome.
Yes, I still do, and I'm helping other friends. And whoever wants, either in Spanish or English, I'm available, because I'm very happy to see the results in my life. And I would like to add a little thing about vitality. In the same DVD where you explain when we give up our loved being, in that moment, that trauma that really, you give up your life, and then take years for the body to catch up with us, right? And then I happened to have a couple of my pictures when I was a kid, and because you see one of my pictures was like maybe 6 years old, and so cute, and and then you see my other pictures when I'm 10, 11, and you can see a sadness in my eyes in all my pictures. And then I realized that when that issue happened with my daddy, and that is reflected in the physiology, because I could see in the picture, a sad girl like my vitality of my life was not in my eyes anymore.
Yep, that's it. The culture unwittingly and unknowingly teaches us to give up our human lives, and we're here to support people reclaiming it. And Jeanie tells me we've got a couple of other callers, so I'm going to say thank you for your call, and we appreciate all the support we're getting with the Spanish work that we're doing and engaging in, and thank you for the offer to get on Skype with the folks here that we're working with, and we will probably do that and get to the next level.
Great. Yes, I'm here for you. Thank you. Big hug to everybody.
All right. Blessings. Take care. Well, we've got 417, and that must mean we've got Miss Julie Haberstick, who's the author of the book, Healing Children, Loving Children. Julie is an inner-city school teacher who now resides at HeartLand, but all the years in the early years of the development of this work, Julie participated and took it into the classroom in a inner-city school system, kindergarten, grade 1, and taught these young children how to do forgiveness, and actually developed a simplified form of the worksheet that in one intensive that Julie led, we watched a 4-year-old child being helped by his 9-year-old sister as he did a worksheet with her. They had gone off to another part of the building, and when we walked out there she is guiding her 4-year-old brother through a worksheet. And Julie, we appreciate and acknowledge you for the work that you've done with kids, especially. You have been such a gift to those kids that you touched. So how are you today?
I am fine today. It was good hearing Bill Greenfield and Reverend Jane. I feel like we're in a mini intensive.
Yes, it is, isn't it?
It also is kind of cute because people used to ask me, why are you going back to hear another intensive? Of course, probably I at least have done 40 or 50 intensives. And I think what it is exactly what Reverend Jane was saying, is you're building the understanding and you're building the brain cells for a whole new life. And, we really don't get how life works when we're unconscious, and we're unconscious that we're unconscious. And so we stay unconscious. And so as I awaken, I understand things better, and I can, do the worksheet better, and I teach it better, and I'm able to express myself better. So it's like I go from a predestined program to actually choosing my life and feeling the joy and excitement of living life. So it's been definitely a journey. And of course I've known you for about 25 years, and when I first met you, I was looking for a way to change things. And you were teaching the worksheet, and halfway through the worksheet, you were teaching at Antioch College, and halfway through the worksheet, I knew that's it. That's the way to change your life. And, that has been my tool of choice. I've used all the other tools, but, that to me is a very, very powerful and enlightening tool. And, of course, I've chosen to teach that to everybody who will listen to me.
Well, and one of the things we really appreciate about you, Julie, is each summer you're there, and when people come, you do that worksheet class that, Julie has a way of approaching and teaching the worksheet that, of course, is different than mine. Each of us is unique in our presentation and really inspires people to dig into that. One of the fond memories I have, Julie, and over the years is when you would call me and say you'd taken a well day off of school, and the day before the kids had just brought so much up for you, and you'd say, and I'm on my 36th worksheet today, or my 25th worksheet today, and doing my work and healing, and it's such an awesome gift to give those kids instead of just functioning out of the old drama that you had from your school days. It's really awesome to have you on our team and to be on your team. And do you realize that you just said that you've known me and been around and doing this work for a quarter of a century?
Yeah, I know it.
25 years, it's like, my goodness, that's a quarter of a century.
Right. Yeah, I was talking to Debbie Mulhern, and in fact, I just set up and just completing this week a 10-week session with people, patterning them on how to do the worksheet, and it's just been so successful. And they just, and my intuition, there's another thing that you start developing those 5 smooth stones, and which I hope you can elaborate on, and my intuition was just so right there for them and so present, and it was just beautiful to watch the support that was being offered through me to them, and how we formed a pagra, and that it was just great. It was just an absolute happening every time we connected. So
awesome. And of course, having the brain cells for all of that is what does make the difference. Did you say you just done a 10-week series with people?
Yeah, I did a 10-week series with 8 people, and I'm finishing it up Friday with 8 people.
And were you doing that on the phone, or how were you doing that?
I was doing that on the phone. Yep. It was a commitment on my part, and a commitment. I asked them for a commitment. They had a commitment to do different things that I had suggested, such as, doing the first part of the song, I love myself just the way I am.
Right.
Doing the commitment, making a list of what I love, admire, and appreciate about myself, doing 2 worksheets a day, anything that I came up with that I thought would be beneficial to them, I offered that. And then what we would do is we would do a 2-hour session once a week. And we would either process, do worksheets, whatever, to support them moving on. And then, of course, what that does, too, is pattern them and strengthen them in their, just giving them enough courage, enough strength to see how it works and what it's like to have somebody really support them. Because, then they have that same strength now to support each other. And I noticed 2 or 3 of them have actually, well, maybe 4, have reached out and started helping others.
Oh, that's awesome. And so, Julie, what did you charge for this 10-week series with these people?
Actually, that was a sowing and reaping experience for me. I didn't charge anything for that. It was like a divine intervention. It was give this, and as you give this, I realized God is my provider. We often look at others totally being the provider, but God is my provider, and my guidance was to sow it.
Well, that's awesome, and it sounds like you've got a pattern set up and a way set up to do that. And so, if there's anybody that wants to, I would support you. That's a pretty good investment of time. I'm sure that you didn't just go and do the 2 hours either. That there was a lot of prep and such involved. And so, I would support you if you set modules like that up. Certainly put it on the website and invite you to consider some kind of a reasonable fee that people would offer. And if there's anybody that's listening, Julie is an absolute master with the worksheet. And so if you want to just go to the website and drop, with the email address on the website, just click in and send it. We'll pass it on to Julie if you want to be part of another series. If that's something that's of interest to you in doing again, Julie, that's awesome.
Well, it took a lot of time, and sometimes it was like I actually went into a 5-hour or 3-hour session with someone. So, it really means a commitment on their part, a commitment on my part. I'm looking forward to it ending for just a respite myself, and yet I also saw the benefits of it. And of course, as you know, I've probably done thousands of worksheets. I've been doing.
You are the worksheet queen.
Yeah. So,
absolutely.
All right. Well, I know the program's coming to an end, so I just wanted to tap in and say hi to everybody.
Cool. Well, Julie, maybe you could join us more often on the show and share your wisdom and insight. And we're down to about a minute or so left, so we'll close the conversation out. But maybe there's some specific things that you'd like to share. As the others who called in, I asked them what particularly impacted them. And maybe tomorrow's show, if you've got the space, you could come on and we could go through some of the things that have been most impactful.
All right. It'd be fine. I will probably need to use David's phone because I've got limited minutes, and that'd be fine. He offered that to me.
Sure. Cool.
Sure.
Awesome.
Right.
Well, that's fabulous. Well, thank you for sharing the planet with us. Thank you for taking on the work. Thank you from all the children that you've touched through those years in school, and I know I got to meet some of them, and you've changed so many lives with that. It's just awesome with those little kids. And might be an interesting project to get back in touch with those kids and find out what's happening in their lives now.
Right.
So, anyway, thank you, Julie. We appreciate you. We bless you. We hold the space for you, and we hold the space that everybody who's listening will now have the best year yet of your eternal life. And so go to whyagain.com. Check out the schedule for Las Vegas if you're ready to do some work, our intensive next weekend, and we'll look forward to hearing from you tomorrow. Blessings.